You don't want to bring up X's. And Baltimore probably brought up some playoff X losses there. They were like, oh, yeah, I remember back when we choked it to the Titans. Oh, yeah, yeah, we're not going to do that again. And then they just went and choked it away to the Chiefs. So,
All right, Mike, we're back after the semifinals, or should I say the conference championships.
this isn't the World Cup.
No, we have to make it super fancy because, it's the United States and we can't just call it like it is in any other tournament, right? So screw the semifinals. It is the conference championships, okay? On
Yes.
the AFC side, you had a pretty blah game, is what I would call it. And I guess the question after the AFC championship, Mike, is Lamar Jackson's legacy going to be poor performance in postseason play?
Yeah, you know what? Unfortunately for Lamar Jackson, he is going to have to turn in a better postseason game in a big setting than he has in his career, or else he's kind of going to be known for that. I hate to say it, man. I mean, I think Michael Vick, well, he was known for some notorious things too, but Vick was also a very explosive, electric player who, in the postseason, never really turned in any good performances. You know what I mean? Like Vic is another example of a guy who I think laid some postseason duds. And as a result, like he doesn't really get talked about a whole lot. I think Lamar Jackson is a more efficient quarterback. I think he plays in an easier era to be an efficient quarterback. But at the same time, Lamar Jackson's numbers are much better than Michael Vick's. But at the end of the day, until Lamar Jackson can turn in a really strong postseason performance, I just don't foresee people, whether fair or not, to the guy. You know what I mean? Like he is a good quarterback, but unfortunately, in this day and age, you're judged on how you perform in the big settings, and he just was not up to par on Sunday. Now, here's my question to you, Dirk. Obviously, Lamar had a rough day. He did not have a great game, but that final interception that he threw into triple coverage, was that not pass interference on that play?
Yeah, Mike, I mean, it definitely was pass interference, but with Swifty on your side, does it really matter? Of course it was pass interference, but
Yeah.
there's been multiple times during the playoffs where they've let things go. And quite frankly, I actually thought the plays and the officiating was just overall pretty good in both conference championships. Now, you're going to have your questionable call or two, but that's not make or break. I mean, the theory, or like the theme, I should say, of that game was just poor performance by the offensive side, left and right. I mean, it was underwhelming. And honestly, Lamar Jackson just looked like he never could get settled. Now, the dude is unquestionably one of the most athletic players of all time, and maybe one of the best quarterbacks that I've seen in this generation. I mean, that's undeniable. And there was amazing plays. How about the play where he catches his own pass? I mean, they win.
Right.
And that's going to be called it's the next immaculate reception. I mean, that was a miracle. And, in any other situation, that is an interception. And those are the unfortunate part about that is like all of the big plays he makes and all of the athleticism. It doesn't really matter when you don't win in clutch time.
Here's the thing that's funny about it, Dirk. I will say this in defense of Lamar Jackson. Okay, before our Lamar Jackson defenders come and attack us in the comments, I will go ahead and defend him for a second on this. If that ball doesn't get fumbled, and I believe it was Zay Flowers breaks the goal line and scores a touchdown. If that happens, Baltimore is only down by 4 points at that point in the game, I believe, or is it 3? I can't remember what the score would have been, but it would have been a very close game, and all the momentum is going towards Baltimore's side. They're at home. There's a decent chance the Ravens win the game if he scores that touchdown and doesn't fumble at the goal line. And it's just a funny thing about football in the postseason. There are certain things in Tom Brady's resume that were just dumb luck breaks. Right, Tom Brady should not have the first Super Bowl. The Oakland Raiders should have won that game in Foxborough. That was a fumble. You know what I mean? Like that, the Raiders, they changed the rule because of it. That was a fumble. Brady, but it just happened that way. You know what I mean? So let's say Flowers doesn't fumble the ball, he scores a touchdown. We might be talking about Lamar Jackson, the Super Bowl starter who led the comeback to beat the Chiefs, if that happens. So it was not all on Lamar. You know what I mean? It's just sometimes you catch these weird breaks and they come at a bad time and it does impact your legacy. And I think, unfortunately for him, this one is a tough pill to swallow because unlike Josh Allen, who went down to Mahomes a couple of years ago in a great game and a great performance, Lamar Jackson did not turn in a great performance on Sunday.
Yeah, and still, even after both season, I mean, he gets at least a 1-and-1 postseason play this time, right? It's not like he was one and done, anything like that. And he had a great game against Houston, but unfortunately, it still comes down to, a negative touchdown to interception ratio in the game that really matters. Now, if I'm on the defense, right? Let's say Clowney, you're anybody on that defense. I bring up Clowney because of the 1-year contract, right? But you have played out of your mind, and quite frankly, when in most defensive coordinators, at least the ones that I played for, the goal was 17 points. And that's one of the best offenses, if not the best offense historically in this era, to 17 points for a majority of that game. I mean, you could not have played better. They rallied to the ball like we called that they would last week. And I mean, this is not on that defense. They held up their end of the bargain. The offense, again, did not. And remember at the very, one of the first videos we shot this whole season was talking about how was the move and the new offensive coordinator for the Ravens going to make a difference? And yeah, sure, maybe it did during the course of the season. But again, it doesn't matter. If you don't make the Super Bowl with that stacked of a team, it doesn't matter. And now the Ravens are on the barrel of another draft where they're probably going to go first round with a wide receiver. And how many years can you do that before you just start deteriorating everything on that defense? Because that is a defense to win now, not a win in 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, they have a small window. One thing, though, I will say, though, Dirk, is this. You were correct. Baltimore's defense ended up keeping them in the game. They held Kansas City to 17. But it also was kind of like a first date where you show up, you got your cologne on, you sprayed some nice Axe body spray around, and then you go in and you immediately just shoot your mouth off with the dumbest line possible. And then the rest of the date is kind of awkward because that's what happened. Baltimore's defense came out in this zone, and the first 2 drives, Kansas City moved it all over them, and it set the tone for the game and kind of deflated the stadium. You know what I mean? So although Baltimore's defense ended up with 17 on the board, they did not turn in a very good first 20 minutes of the game, and it ended up costing them big time. So sometimes when your hot date is the AFC Championship, it helps to come out and swing for the fences. I think Baltimore had to blitz Mahomes more early in the game, did not take enough chances early on, and it ended up costing him.
Hey, your final note on this, Mike. And the last question I have for you is, what's the one line that ends a first date?
Well, you don't want to bring up exes. And Baltimore probably brought up some playoff X losses there. They were like, oh yeah, I remember back when we choked it to the Titans. Oh yeah, we're not going to do that again. And then they just went and choked it away to the Chiefs. So for all you listeners out there looking for dating advice, don't take it from me, but don't wear Axe body spray. It's probably not a good idea.